All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Show Choir Nation. I'm your host, William. Alongside me tonight is my co-host, Ethan. We have to start by talking about the sports ball a little bit, I feel like.
Pretty good
We have
sports
three
ball.
number one seeds left, and we have one number three seed left. And
Yeah.
Ethan, who is that number three seed?
It might be the U of I. Oh, it's unbelievable. And I feel, I don't know, the best way to terms of it is like, you're in a choir at one point and all of a sudden, you're an alumni of that choir and they finally get good and you finally watch them get to that point and then you're so happy for them. It's got to that point. So just huge for the U of I. I love, it's kind of funny. We have let me think. Arizona, okay. Valley Vista, okay. And then Illinois could be anyone. Danville would probably be the closest, right? So Danville. Or
Since Unity quit. Well, Unity quit. So
yeah, so Danville. And then you'd say Daniel Hand for UConn. And then who's the other team? Oh, Michigan, Grosse Pointe.
Mm-hmm. Well, they quit a couple years ago.
Oh, you're right.
So
They're gone.
I think
too.
Berkeley Encore is the only choir from Michigan that made a competitive appearance this year.
Okay. Well,
but they're all the way on the other side of the state from Ann Arbor. So
those are our unofficial Final Four, or well, not Final Four, whatever you want to call it. But
the last four teams remaining in the sports ball.
Yeah, those in the show choir world. Yep. So yeah, it's super exciting. That shot against UConn and Duke was unbelievable. Like that's why you watch March Madness, right? So yeah, and we have our own madness of our own going on. It's kind of crazy getting kind of turned up here. It's kind of insane the amount of votes that come in and see how other states like back each other up, because I think I don't know, I need to look at it. I need a refresher, but like Indiana's still going pretty strong. I know they've lost a couple along the way. They're still holding pretty strong. Iowa, Nebraska, they still have a handful of choirs that are still in the mix, right?
I don't know about that.
You don't know? It's been a while since I've looked. I know Lynn Marsh.
Nebraska's out. Right?
Nebraska's completely out.
Nebraska's gone. There are 5 Indiana choirs, 2 California choirs, and 1 Iowa choir. So it's kind of Indiana versus the world at this point. A majority of the choirs left are from Indiana, and we have Energetic 8 voting going on right now. So head on to homeroomshowchoir.com/blog and find the most recent voting link. We will have the 4 with facials and the championship voting later this week.
Oh, yeah.
And we will announce the winner of Show Choir Madness live on this very show next week, Tuesday.
Crazy. Throw that time of the year. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it is going to absolutely be fantastic. We have some heavy hitters. I know I was doom scrolling through Instagram today and saw some choirs plugging for votes on their Instagram stories. So certainly the spirit is still alive and well. And perhaps there's even a twist to come after this madness is over. We may be debuting something new this year. It may involve another bracket of some kind. That's all the details we can share right now. More details next week. Let's talk about Heart of America, Orlando. The results of this one up top. Ball up top. Los Alamitos sound effects, best visuals, and best show design. Johnston Innovation second. Westside ATSC third with best band. Mount Zion Swing Stations fourth. Olentangy Keynotes fifth. Ethan, Los Alamitos has won 0 competitions in California this year. They have won 1 competition in Florida this year. Something about Los Al locking in at national comps.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they step on stage and they, put the crowd in a whole different landscape. I on the show so many times I've said that the greatest thing about show choir and events like this is that everyone gets to share the same stage, and that was always something that I pride myself on. It's like, well, in the end of the day, I get to share the stage with this choir, who are all, known as some of the top choirs in the country. I get the same opportunity as them to put on my best effort. There's just something about Los Alamitos, though, and watching their show and watching John Burroughs' show this year. I haven't seen Burbank's. It's just a whole different ball game in terms of production, and people say it might be like Broadway-like, which I think it teeters more towards it than maybe some other choirs. However, It's still on a show choir stage. They're still seating, and they're still putting on amazing shows. I mean, these shows are unbelievable. I thank goodness I watched it twice. It took a little bit the first time to really lock in to know what was really going on, and I'm glad that we had some great commentators to help us along that track as well during the HOA stream. So shout out to them. Yeah, it was a great show. I don't think it should have been any different. I think the results are what they should have been. Los Alamitos is just an unbelievable choir. They just lock in, and I know I brought that example. I forgot the year already. I'm not looking it up again. Of when Los Alamitos that one year, they were in California. They won two competitions early in the year, but not against any of the big three. Then they go to nationals and they won against John Burroughs or against Burbank, and then they come back and then they didn't beat another big three opponent again that rest of the year. There's just something about them traveling and the support that they get along the way. They might be one of the best road teams in the country. I think they might be one of the, even though they only do it once a year, or so. They are truly a really good road team.
Absolutely. Let's just talk about a couple of other choirs in this finals round as well. Specifically, I want to focus on third place Omaha West Side and fourth place Mount Zion. These two groups flip-flopped between prelims and finals, so Mount Zion was third in prelims and West Side was fourth. But these are two groups that both had new directors this year. I would say that West Side had a bit more in terms of expectations heading into the season. They were very successful in Doran Johnson's most recent season in 2025, Andrew Jacobson coming from another show choir program, whereas Mount Zion, perhaps a little less consistent last year. Their director, Christina Coffin, her first year directing competitive high school show choir. The paths converged for these two groups. They had very even shows. What are your take on two groups putting down really solid finals placements to close out inaugural seasons with new directors?
Yeah. So first off, West Side, when they gave out the award for the most improved show, I'm like, oh, they definitely jumped. There's no doubt about it. I mean, first off, what an award to give out. But especially when knowing Sweden's got the jump on them in prelims. Yeah, their show was unbelievable. West Side, they move almost the exact same. It's still that West Side vibe. They still are really elegant on stage. Basically, Johnson is very powerful, and they are like a show choir. But I feel like these were kind of like you said, like the two most the show choir type of shows. Like it's show choir type shows. Like true on stage, strong vocals, strong dancing, just all around, just great masterful performances, which is a complete kind of contrast to what Los Alamitos brought on stage, right? And it had to be close. It had to be close. I heard some wild things about prelim scores and all that fancy stuff. And I know Sweens wasn't within single digits, like vocally, of Johnson, which is unbelievable considering like Johnson took vocals off Lynn Marr this year. So that's just how tight this competition was. The judges had a really tough job to do at the end of the day. However, this was a competition that kind of people said it was kind of chalk, which, you know what, I'm kind of glad it was chalk, because in the end, some amazing choirs were on stage and they got the placements that they deserved, I believe. And one more shout out, I have to give a shout out to Olentangy. What a battle that was for that last spot. Unbelievable. And not a lot of people gave Olentangy a real shot. I mean, people were teetering them off and on with Johnson Synergy, who I heard was absurd. I didn't get to watch them on the live stream, but people on the ground were telling me that that's a choir that could beat a million choirs. Like, just unbelievable talent on stage, especially for a quote unquote prep group. They're basically a varsity group at this point. With them, Keller Central, I know, had a really good outing. Things just didn't go the right way for them. In Huntington North, we said this on the show. Like, I think I had them in my finals initially. I think because of their vocal sound, I thought they were going to make a run. They did make a run. It is just ended up being 7th place. Some groups just had to be 7th. Some group had to be, 10th. It just is what it is. And end of the day, all these choirs I know put on amazing performances to, basically in their seasons besides Los Alamitos. So I'm happy that I got to see a bunch of great show choir this weekend. HOA or Orlando, I know I've only been there once. It was a fantastic experience. I know it's kind of different now, being in a ballroom or conference room type esque, but I've seen that before. I went to the only HOA or Atlanta, and what a time that was. I think Marysville ended up winning that one, but yeah, it was still a great venue and ran by some fantastic people. But yeah, I mean, Los Alamitos just do what they do, and that's what we said going into this, and we kind of had the same rundown of the top four. So
Absolutely. A couple other notes from groups in this field. So, as we kind of alluded to, outside of finals in the championship mixed division, Johnston Synergy in sixth, Huntington North Varsity Singers in seventh, Keller Central Voices of Central in eighth, Madison Central Reveille in ninth, and Jackson Prep Revion in 10th. Both Madison Central and Jackson Prep saw some tenures close this past weekend. Leah Nix is retiring from Madison Central, and Mitchell McGinnis is leaving Jackson Prep. So a couple of send-offs for those groups there. Also in the open or small mix division, Tarpon Springs Syndicated Sound beat Rosa Scott Radiance. So if this was a typical Southern Show Choir competition, this is the equivalent of a small mixed group outscoring a middle mixed group. So a shout out to Tarpon Springs there. Los Alamitos comes away with a 2-caption win in the women's division over Mount Zion, Olentangy, Westside, and Huntington North. Let's get to the first part of our title for the episode, and that is the California. We have the Cypress Star Reflections competition. Advanced mix results in this one. Carlsbad Sound Express, showmanship and second place. Pacifica Encore third. Brea Olinda Masquerade fourth. Ethan, Carlsbad Sound Express was an intermediate group the last time they competed, February 28th at Esperanza. They jump up to advanced mixed here, and they don't just play the game, they win the whole dang competition. Where do we see this other places?
Not very often. Not very often, unless it's one of those competitions where things just happen. But yeah, congratulations to them. I mean, this is a choir that lost to Diamond Bar this year, who's having a great year in their division. And so that's just kind of how tight this is. Like Pacifica, they've had some amazing years in the past, and I'm getting third here. Brea Olinda, who is a staple in California show choir, ended up getting the fourth spot. Hart, this is a choir, they got fifth place at Charpel, third and tier 2 at Burbank. They really came out here and got a second place with vocals, which is huge for them coming into this competition. And yeah, Carlsbad doing what they do, making noise like they make noise. Like, congrats to them. I mean, this is the toughest field as California gets, and the fact that they're able to jump on top here was fantastic.
I almost feel like this is vindication a little bit, because those of you who watched or listened to the show last week might remember that we had a very long tangent about the 2020 show choir season while talking about show choir madness. Yeah. And one of the things that I was talking about, I'm like, Carlsbad was right there. Carlsbad was knocking on the door of the big three, this, that, the other thing. Wonderful to see Carlsbad experiencing so much success right now. John Burroughs Sound Waves cleans out intermediate mixed. They also took the overall best choreography caption, which is different than the major showmanship caption. It's regarded as more of a minor caption out west, but they took that off of all of the advanced groups. And then let's talk about novice mixed for a second. First place, Esperanza Reverberation. Second place, Norco New Generation with showmanship. Third place, John A. Rowland Infusion with musicianship. Fourth place, Heart, Heart and Soul. And fifth place, North Torrance Northern Lights. This is a first place group with no captions, a second place group with choreo, and a third place group with vocals.
It happens, man. It happens. Like, when a competition is tight like this, man, and you have a group like Esperanza winning, and shout out to sweepstakes soloists. I don't know what sweepstakes soloist means.
Your guess is as good as mine.
But so yeah, if anyone knows what that means, let us know. But yeah, they only have sweepstakes soloists with shout out Kinsey, and getting an overall win in a competition like that, like, unbelievable. Everyone left with a caption besides Northern, or is it Torrance?
North Torrance, yeah.
Torrance, okay. Yeah, they're the only group that ended up not getting a caption. And the first or the top two captions went to second and third. It had to be so tight. And the fact that music or vocals is in third, on a score sheet, which I'm guessing vocals is the majority of the score sheet. I mean, I don't know. but I'm taking my best guess there. It just shows how tight it was, and how groups, yes, it is show. I know a lot of directors say show choir, like, and I know that was a topic of discussion with HOA. Like, yes, you need to be a choir, and I agree. Vocals are, probably the most important thing in show choir. But yeah, you do need to entertain. Like, you got to be able to move. You got to be able to do a complete show, and the complete show was Esperanza, without being the top dog in either category. So congratulations to them.
The wild thing to me is that Esperanza was outside of the top 5 in their division at their last competition. And now they're first place. And I think more so, like, Esperanza is a group that our Western pollsters put at number 1. I think the outside of the top 5 was more of an aberration than the norm, but just the wild swings of California Novice Show Choir. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, I gotta watch all of these shows over summer to see like what all the hubbub is about, because like, it's not like, if you ask the average show choir person, oh, did you hear about Esperanza and Norco and John A. Rowland? They're like, no, but clearly things are happening here, because you don't just get this caption split with ordinary shows, more or less. So a shout out to Novice Mixed at Cypress for just being wild and being crazy. We'll move on to the second part of our title for today's episode, and that is Canada. We had the Show Choir Canada Championships. Oh, Canada, oh, Canada. I don't know the rest of the words to their national anthem. But
God
in the
shed his grace on. No, it's wrong song. I was trying to think. Oh, Canada, okay. No, yeah, I don't know it. I tried.
So in the community group division, the winner was Etobicoke Splash. In second place was Music Academy of Western New York Shout. And in third place was Fame School of Performing Arts Oz Ensemble. And in the curricular high school division, first place Pickering Euphonics, second place Our Lady of Lourdes The Pitches, and third place St. George's G Major. This is Splash's first time competing since 2023, and they go back to a very familiar spot, which is first place. Splash now has 8 wins at Show Choir Canada. All other groups have combined for 5 wins at Show Choir Canada. What else do you have to add here, Ethan?
Dynasty.
No. Yep.
Yeah. Dynasty. I mean, I just want to shed some light. I know we talked on it last year, but like, last year's results were crazy. Do you remember how crazy they were? I have to look back. I just remember them being nutty. A
choir from the United States of the middle school GC.
The middle school one from the United States, which, yes. I know this year United States is beating Canada and everything, which I love my people up north. They're great. But yeah, I mean beating them in hockey, beating them in baseball, and I mean couldn't really get them in show choir this year. We'll get them next time. No. But yeah, last year not Midwest. United States middle school won the whole competition, which, again, Splash didn't perform. Were they the hosts?
I don't know. I know they did for at least one of those years, but I don't know if they were involved in last year's event at all.
Okay. Wow, which is kind of nutty. But yeah, they're back on top. They just do what they do. And I just don't know enough to just keep commenting, besides that they are a dynasty. They just keep running this event whenever they show up. It's almost like, I'm going to personally put it up there. No one else has to. I'm going to personally put it up there with Clinton Attaché. Who could touch them right now? It's been a while. Who could touch them? And you can't vote on anyone else until they get beat. So it's kind of where it's at, in my mind. They might be one of the most untouchable choirs in the past 5 years.
They have beaten Burbank.
Yeah. And I think they beat Troy, or did they lose to Troy? I know Troy went up there a while back.
So the last time they lost was at Fame Chicago 2019, where they beat Crete Moni, they beat Green Bay East, and they split captions with a group we were just talking about, Jackson Prep Revion.
What a comp.
There were only 4 groups at that competition. But boy, It is one of the most interesting 4-group lineups.
Yeah, wait, I'm going back into the history. Edgewood was supposed to go in 2020. Um, that's pretty much
But
it.
let me try to find the last time they got beat in Canada.
Burbank, yeah, 2018,
So
and they
they
lost.
also they
Oh, to
lost to
Tina
Troy.
Grace. Wait, but they didn't perform.
They lost to Troy so they went to Waltham in 2017, and they split captions with Troy, but they lost. They beat Shepherd Hill, Oliver Ames, Andover, Somerset, and
That's what
Tantascwa.
that was. Okay, and then Troy
Yeah,
Buchanan went in 2015 to Show Choir Canada, but they lost to St. George's. They weren't there.
that's when
Gosh.
it has.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
Splash won in 2013. Wait,
they
listen to this. Splash won in 2013. They only got best vocals. Wexford Collegiate School for the Arts. The Wexford Gleeks got second place, best choreography, best band, best show design, top male vocalist, top female vocalist, top male dancer, top female dancer, and top male triple threat performer. And they got second.
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Then they won in 2012. Oh, okay. So they lost to Wexford. They lost to Wexford in 2011, the first year of the competition, and they haven't looked back since.
No, they did lose at Show Choir Canada in 2015.
Oh, I skipped that over
because Troy competed in the high school division, but Splash competed in the open division, and they lost to the KW Community Group from Waterloo, Ontario. KW Glee, best vocals, best choreography, best show design, best new choir, and national champions. This group had never competed before, ever.
Wait, I'm doing research on them. At least they have the directions on here. Oh, it was their second year ever. Wait, maybe, as we know. The only other year is 2011, and then 2016 they didn't compete.
That's crazy. They had man.
Wow.
Okay, so there's their second competition ever. But
yeah,
golly,
yeah, that's absurd. National champion. Nationals needs to do that next year.
Would you imagine the uproar if like Nationals crowned their grand champion as national champion, but then like HOA chose what's our most stacked event and then also crowned them national champion, and then Fame took their national finals and said we're going to crown this choir national champion,
and then you have nationals of nationals and everyone,
and then it's like a competing claims to the throne situation, like medieval Europe. We got 3 people claiming to be king and we don't know which one is it. So
we could be the the homeroom nationals, and
we only invite national champions. It's a 3-group competition.
And guess what? We'll have a quote unquote no bias judging panel, and we have all this money to throw at them. Guess what? We don't have
that. If anyone would like to graciously gift $1 million so that we can rent a good view, we'll rent we'll rent something in Chicago. And
how about the Fox Theater in St. Louis?
Sure, we can do St. Louis. Oh, did someone say Show Choir Select?
Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Bring it back. No, but like honestly though, if we have someone who has a lot of money and they want us to run a show choir comp, we got one in the books. We have one drawn up, so let us know.
We do homeroomshowchoir@gmail.com, and we can work from there. The Waltham Eastern Show Choir Festival capped off the New England season this past Saturday. The results of this one in the large mixed division: Marysville Swingers Unlimited, grand champion, best vocals, best choreo, and best band. In second place, Tantascwa Encore, and third place, Little Sound Impressions. In small mixed, first place, Natick West Street Singers, best vocals and best choreo. Second place, Somerset Berkeley Electrify, best band. Third place, Oliver Ames Panache. And in the women's division, first place, Marysville Swingers Select, best vocals, best choreo, best band. Second place, Somerset Berkeley Amplify. And third place, Tantascwa Applause. Ethan, Marysville walked in, they walked the dinosaur, and they walked out of Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm looking back into the history of Waltham, and they've won this competition since 2018 3 times. Hold up.
And can we also shout out
Unbelievable.
Waltham's brand new auditorium that looked gorgeous in the photos?
Oh,
Waltham has a new high school this year. They built a new high school across the street from their old high school,
really?
and their auditorium, based off the photos I saw on social media, big, beautiful, well done. Like I would not be surprised to see a lot of groups start to travel to Waltham in the future.
Good for them. That's a school that I feel like deserves it. We need to see, and I think it can, also spark more schools to start show choirs. Well, if you walk into a venue like
Fingers
that,
crossed.
and you see, what they put on stage, and especially when they always somehow get, a out of group choir or out of state strong out of state choir almost every other year, or at least every year. Like John Burroughs, Marysville always goes. Edgewood would always make a run there.
Mantino.
Yeah, Mantino. They made a run there. They didn't have the backdrop though, so count it, strike it from the record. Doesn't count.
Okay, we're not. Yeah, okay. Never mind.
But yeah, Marysville. I mean, literally almost cleaned house. They're used to getting gold medals, so I don't need to say congratulations. They've gotten 3 of them, or how many times? I think 3 of them, at least over 3 or more. But yeah, congratulations to them. Tantascwa, huge result for them. This was kind of like a prove it competition for them to see if they could stay above Lao. In a tough division. I know first kind of seemed out of place. Or kind of reaching for the stars a little bit with Marysville coming in here. However, Tantascwa held their own. It ended up getting a gold medal, the only other gold medal in the tier 1. So that's huge. That means that gap wasn't too far off. However, Marysville is just one of those really, really strong choirs. I also loved judges awards up in the Northeast. They're the best. I still hold my Rock Your Socks Off award very close to my chest. I know I wear it with pride. But yeah, Crocodile Rock Judges Award. Are there any other crazy ones on here?
They only did one per division here.
Oh, darn it! Bring it back. No, everyone needs one.
That's not true. That's not true.
No, everyone needs one. I promise.
No, we can. I'm totally okay with doing one judges award per division.
Go. I mean, I remember. I know we had an episode where we read off the Andover ones from when Sweens went there in 2019, and those captured awards are hysterical. They are so funny. But yeah, that's why you do them. Yeah, it also is just a testament to how Marysville I almost said Select Sound. Marysville Sweener Select also came in and took their division as well, cleaning house as well. So they had a fun trip to the Northeast. I'm guessing they went to either they're in Massachusetts, right? So they probably went to Boston and then maybe made their way to New York. So yeah, that's definitely a fun trip for them. Clearly, if you're cleaning house like that. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to Natick, who won that stack competition field that we were talking about last week. Unbelievable. Winning, or at least sweeping it. Well, sweeping it in what considers what you're able to control, even though, I mean, you're able to control best band, but whatever. I know some people think of it differently. But yeah, Natick coming in with best vocals, best choreography, best soloist, and of course their judges award and gold medal. It's kind of telling with everyone else getting silver medals, I think, is how strong Natick's performance was. I mean, Somerset Berkeley is such a strong choir. Oliver Ames, also a very strong choir. And of course, sadly, the rest we just don't know. We need to change.
Yes.
We need to change.
Please.
How are we supposed to get any idea of how are the?
You could
I mean,
be the fourth place.
I guess the judges or not the judges, like the directors could get an idea if they start workshopping it and figuring it out. But like, dude, like, why can't we?
You could be fourth place, well in the top half of the division, and nobody knows. And we need to stop doing that because we need to recognize our good performances. But
yeah, could you imagine being a parent? Like, could you imagine being a parent sitting in the auditorium or whatever, and they just name the top 4 or top 3, and you're like, well, we could have been. And like, I'm thinking as a parent who doesn't really know show choir, right? They just go in, they go support their kid, and they walk in, they're like, wait, so we don't know if we're 4th place or 10th. It's like, yeah, that's how it works up here. It's like, what the heck? And then you go home the next day, you're like, so what place were we in? Oh, the director hasn't told us yet. It's like, Okay, I guess I'll just drop it. Because what are we doing? I feel like people deserve to know. But
the people also deserve to know that Natick has now won, I believe, 9 small divisions in their 5 years of competition.
Unbelievable.
And they were one of the most heralded arrivals of the post-pandemic scene. Plans were in motion for that very early on. And had a new director, picked up a new choreographer this year. But to see them break back into the division win, I really hope that this is a group that can keep coming up with numbers. I know they were really on the cusp of being a large mixed group a couple years ago. I hope we do eventually see that out of them eventually. And then Somerset and Oliver Ames, 2 former large mixed groups that are rebuilding their programs right now, really showing the effort that those directors are putting in is paying off. So Taylor Medina at Somerset, and then I believe TJ Clifford and Emma Lemke at Oliver Ames. The proof is in the pudding, and I hope that we get to a point very, very soon where we have more than the 6 large mixed groups in New England than we have right now. We will move to the last competition recap that we're going to cover from this past week, and that is the Brandon Show Choir Elite. We have a third.
Hello.
Please welcome to the show, Mr. Tony Holman. How is your evening?
It's going fine. Classes are done, so it's a lot better than it was before.
There we go. Well, let's just read off the results of Brandon Elite real quick. In the extra large division, first place, Northwest Rankin, the Ambassadors, overall grand champion, best vocals, best choreography, best overall production, and a horde of other captions. Second place, Jackson Academy, overall second place. Only group in large division, Northeast Jones Gold Horizons, overall third place, and Cruz Parker also took the Griffin Magnum Shining Star Award. First place in middle mix was South Jones Company, overall fourth place, and then Burleson Centennial was second in middle mixed. Small mixed, CCA Extreme first place, Pisgah Energy second place, Pass Christian Luminary third place, Morton One Accord fourth place, and in single gender first place, Northwest Rankin the Allure, that was your overall fifth place choir. Second place, Northwest Rankin the Ambition, and third place, Cristo Rey Fort Worth. Ethan, I will toss this one to you first because I know you've got to boogie on out of here in just a second. Any thoughts about Brandon? I know you've been there before. I do want to apologize to the listeners real quick. Last week we said that this comp was at the amphitheater. That was not true. Producer just flat up forgot to do the research before compiling the show sheet. So we misled the listeners. I apologize greatly for that. This was at the Brandon High School Gymnasium.
So I have been there before. I was going to say, technically, I haven't really been there.
Yeah, so that's where I was leading into.
Yeah. I mean, I drove by it. Super nice complex. But yeah. First off, when last year when we went, it being a last second change due to the weather, I thought they did a phenomenal job setting up the stage and getting everything going. And this being the second year doing it, I can only imagine how much smoother it went. Especially with
it
everyone.
Didn't go as long as it did last year for sure.
That's good. Last year was a little long, and I had a feeling it wouldn't be as long. But yeah, I mean, huge win for Northwest Rankin. I mean, first off, I mean, especially end of the year, you're trying to end on a high note. You're coming off a win at Madison Central. You just want to keep that momentum going, and they did that clearly. Winning all those captions is first off unbelievable. It's just so many captions. But yeah, Jackson Academy still, singing their butts off, getting best ballad, which is such a strong indicator of how your vocals are. It just kind of seems like a runaway with the amount of captions that was given to Northwest Rankin. They're just one of those choirs. I'm pretty sure they were there last year at Brandon. I'm pretty sure. They were. They won overall.
They were.
Yeah. They had an amazing show last year. I had a blast watching their show last year. I haven't seen tad bits of this year, which I know Tony will probably be able to talk on here in a little bit. But I know last year that they had such a strong show, and I could only imagine how strong it was this year. So, congratulations to them. Congratulations to Brandon. I'm guessing this is the second time that in the South you competed in a gym.
I think so. As far as I'm aware, this is the second ever held competition in a gym, with the first one ever being last year with Brandon.
Seems to be becoming a habit. Well, at least they know how to do it now and clearly keep it on time. And I know last time we were there, the folks at Brandon were just so welcoming, and especially being from the Midwest, traveling all the way down there was such a blast. And I hope all the kids who were on stage there had a great time.
Wonderful. Well, Ethan, we're going to let you get on out of here. So
sure.
Tony and I are going to take this one. Ethan, we will see you next week. Again, we are announcing the winner of Show Choir Madness on the show next week. So make sure to tune in for that. Tony, I do want to just dive a little bit deeper into these results. So when we look at the extra large division specifically, we see Northwest and we see JA. And these are two groups that saw each other at Biloxi. Northeast was second, JA was fifth, or Northwest. We're going to talk about Northeast a little bit. Northwest Rankin was second, JA was fifth. We kind of have diverging paths with these two choirs. Northwest Rankin, their director, Tony Keeler, will be leaving the program at the end of the school year. Jackson Academy, their director, Jacob Butzine, only in his second season, with hopefully many more down the runway to come. How do you view these two choirs? I know Northwest has kind of made a big jump during this month of March, but where do these two choirs fit in the overall ecosystem of Southern Large Mixed?
Northwest Rankin. So as you mentioned, Ethan kind of forgot to touch on it earlier, but not only are they ending their season with 2 back-to-back grand championships, but to do it right after the announcement of your director leaving is like another level of locked in. I can't even begin to fathom all the things they've thought and like felt during this time. So props to them for that. But with Northwest Rankin, they're kind of a different situation because there's so much more, I don't want to say resources or capital, but it is a huge school and they have a huge choral program, not just show choir, but even just mass choir in general. So they have a lot to kind of pull from and get resources from. And because of that, I mean, they have 5 total show choirs counting middle school. So it's its own ecosystem on its own way. So for a new director to come in and kind of take control of that, it's a different monster on its own. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out next year. And then with the Jackson Academy, you mentioned this is Butzine's second year. And we're starting to really see what seems to be some of the results of his goals this year. It started out pretty rough, but it has slowly started to curve upward with their Biloxi placement over Northeast Jones and Oak Grove. And then at Brandon Elite, not only getting second, a lot of people have overlooked this, but they stepped up into extra large division after having been in the 3A tier for most of the season.
Very interesting. Jacob Butzine, Jackson Academy's director, product of Ross in Ohio, directed there for a little bit, took over Brandon's middle school for a year. Can you remember any other directors that have come from the Midwest to the South? And kind of in tandem with that, does the Jackson Academy product now, I saw their show last year, but not this year, does the Jackson Academy product this year look like it is more Midwesty, I guess, than a lot of other Southern show choirs?
Well, to answer your first question, there is one guy from the Midwest that came down to the South. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is David Fair. He's a bit underground. Yes. You might not know his work. That's the first guy that comes to mind.
He actually grew up in a town about 50 minutes northeast of where I am right now.
So you're basically David Fair, is what I'm hearing.
Let's not say that.
Okay. But no, to answer your question, there's absolutely been more of a Midwest feel to Jackson Academy. And as Nathan mentioned a second ago, they did get the Best Ballad Award. And I don't know if you know this, but the Midwest is historically a bit, I'd say, superior in the vocal category. So that alone, that caption kind of gives you a glimpse into what more of the effects that Jacob is having on the program.
Absolutely. Let's touch on Northeast Jones. This is a group that has been in middle mixed for a while. They stepped up to large mixed this year, and they've had a decent run of it. We see maybe not running the most, not competing against the most number of choirs, perhaps. I mean, they had a very solid, I think, 6 competition slate, a few overall seconds, an overall third here, a finals miss at Biloxi. But for a group that has stepped up a division this year, how has Northeast Jones' season gone compared to perhaps how you were thinking it was going to go at the beginning of the season?
In my mind, the way I think about it is if you step up a division, you have like a grace year. You have a year where you can get last in every time in that division, and it's okay. You're kind of learning the ins and outs of it. Northeast Jones, like you said, they stepped up a division, and they started out the year beating West Jones, who I don't know if you know this, would go on to beat Brandon and Homewood. So from that alone, I would say the season was already a success. As you mentioned, there was a couple of placements where they obviously wish they placed higher. You can consider this one where maybe they wish they placed over someone like Jackson Academy, who they also had fallen to at Biloxi. But given the situation they're in, I'd say they're doing just fine.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, one of the things that I really love to see is new groups coming in, and the South had a good handful of those this year. but also groups moving up divisions. And I know we'll touch on that a little bit later, but I think it really is a sign of a good and healthy and thriving show choir scene when you have groups moving up from middle to large, or from prep to varsity, or from small to middle, whatever the terminology may be, if you do it based off group size or skill level or whatever. In the middle mixed division, we had South Jones Company taking home the win over Burleson Centennial. South Jones goes undefeated in division this year. I think they have a really strong stake to be called the best middle mixed choir in Mississippi, probably undisputedly, and they're definitely in that conversation in the South in general. For folks who aren't really familiar with South Jones, what kind of progress have they made specifically after the pandemic in how their program has evolved?
Man, growing up in Mississippi and just in the South, show choir in general, you always hear of these blue blood programs like Clinton, Homewood, Petal, and one that people, at least my age, have kind of forgotten about is South Jones. South Jones used to be right up there with Clinton and Petal, at least in Mississippi. And I think it was around 2013 was when it really started to drop off. And as you mentioned, COVID happened, and South Jones made what might be one of the best decisions in Southern Show Choir in the last 7 years or so in hiring Austin Perkins. And ever since he started there, you can go to showchoir.com and look at the progression. Every year, the awards, the placements get like one or two positions better, until last year you start seeing just constant first place. They've been on what I consider to be the best trajectory of any Southern Show Choir program over the last few years. I mean, their progress is unmistakable.
Awesome. I mean, obviously recruitment is a touchy subject a lot of places, and I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but if you're riding undefeated in middle mixed, if you can gather up the students to do so, I mean, I would really love to see even more groups in the large division. I know the Jones County rivalry, it gets intense. Mm-hmm. I think is the best kind of neutral way to describe it, but a phenomenal season for South Jones to go along with, a banner season for West Jones and Northeast Jones, moving very solidly back up into large mixed. Small mixed, the biggest division at this competition, Clinton Christian Extreme first place, Pisgah Energy second place, Pass Christian Luminary third place, Morton Win Accord fourth place. CCA and Pisgah have seen each other 3 times this year, and they've been almost joined at the hip. CCA 1 place ahead of Pisgah each of those 3 times. Did we expect this out of CCA coming into the season? Like, I feel like they weren't really one of the names to watch in small division in some of the stuff that I was hearing.
CCA, they've floated around or at least South overall groups. They've kind of floated around that 5th to 7th range, and there's been a few groups with them. Pisgah's been one of them. I'm trying to think. Rome, except this season, has kind of floated around that position as well. So it's not unexpected. They've just been higher out of that 5 to 7 range this season because they've lost to Oxford and I believe they've lost to West Marion, but they've beaten pretty much everyone else they've faced against in the division. I think this competition, like you mentioned, we've seen CCA and Pisgah face off against each other, and I Pass Christian was the real wild card here. I know we hadn't seen Pisgah compete against Pass Christian, and I don't think we had seen CCA compete against them. I could be wrong on that. Don't fact check me, or don't hold me to it. But they were the real wild card here. It was going to be interesting to see how they compared against CCA and Pisgah, knowing that I believe the only other groups they had lost to previously was West Marion, who, that's fair. And then Tarpon, who has done an incredible turnaround this season. So it was we didn't have any metric to really hold them up against. So them getting third here was the real eye catcher.
And Pass Christian, to circle back to a point that we just touched on a little bit ago, they will be moving up into the middle mix division for next year, as long as everything goes according to plan. This group, a post-pandemic entry into the show choir world, a very new group. I have not been acquainted with Southern Show Choir that long that I don't know if I've really seen anybody go from small mixed all the way up to large mixed. But we, in the past dozen maybe or so years, we've seen Brandon do it. We've seen Biloxi do it. Maybe there's someone else that I'm forgetting about. But how do you think the trajectory of Pass Christian compares to some of these other groups that have successfully gone from small mixed all the way up to large or extra large mixed?
No, yeah. Biloxi, like you said, is the last example that really comes to mind of groups that have fully progressed from the small division up until the extra large division. And with Pass Christian stepping up to middle division, it's a bit of a different scenario because when Biloxi and Brandon stepped up, they were already 6A size schools. They had plenty of students to kind of start pulling into their program. Pass Christian, I believe, sits at a 4A school. So their progress might be a little more delayed, but still, being a 4A school and already stepping up a division shows that's the goal they have in mind, and that's what they're working to do. And I mean, I'm not saying they can't step into or they can't stay in that division, but I mean, if you're able to pull together the students you need, you can. There's nothing stopping you from going up another division if you have the resources.
So I guess I didn't realize that. I just looked up Pass Christian's enrollment. They're sitting at 604 students for the high school, which I look at that and I'm like that is considered tiny for circuits like Indiana. Even where I come from in kind of the Wisconsin, Illinois area, like sure, are there schools like Mayville and like El Paso Gridley that are smaller schools and put out bigger groups from time to time? Yes, but those are few and far between. So I guess I initially just looked at Pass Christian. I'm like, oh, like you're on the coast, you've got to have a ton of students. Well, I guess that's not true. So I learned a little something about Pass Christian today. Best of luck to them as they continue their show choir journey in middle division. Let's hit on the single gender division a little bit as well. Northwest Rankin, the Allure, the last group in the overall placements in fifth, taking the division win over their brother group, as well as Cristo Rey Fort Worth from Texas. The past week, we saw Ambition win the single gender division and make it to finals. We see Allure kind of getting their get back here. What has been your sense this season? Have the Northwest single gender groups been close? Did you expect the Allure to come out on top? Did you expect the Ambition to come out on top? You know, what are your thoughts compared to the way this division shook out?
I'd say every year every division every year normally has a group. I don't want to call them the bar, but they're a very solid group that could improve, but they don't really mess up too much. So you kind of hold them as like, okay, if I see a group that's better than this, I know they're pretty good. And that's kind of what the Allure was for me this year and seeing their placements. And I'll be honest, there with the Ambitions beating them at Madison Central, not just beating them, but also beating Biloxi's treble group. Part of me considered that a bit more of an upset than West Jones beating Homewood after seeing how the season played out. It wasn't as big of a headline, obviously, but knowing those groups' histories and what people expected to happen, if you had told me that the Ambitions were going to make finals at Madison Central, I would have called you crazy. So I can only imagine the debate that's been going on against each other. Obviously friendly, right? They're part of the same program, but I can only imagine the we beat you. What are you going to do now? Going back and forth between the bass and treble groups. So I had a feeling things were going to return to normal and that the Allure was going to take the win here, and that's what ended up happening. The Ambitions didn't go down without a fight, though. I mean, they still beat Cristo Rey, so they didn't go home empty-handed.
For sure. Well, that, I mean, just about wraps up our Brandon recap, but I do want to hold you for a few more minutes here and just kind of talk about Southern Show Choir as a whole, because I feel like the season doesn't really get started in earnest until a lot of the Midwest seasons are in heavy swings. So for national observers, it kind of just gets swallowed up, and then it does extend a little bit farther, although according to our friends over at the warm-up room, Brandon's competition will be shifting at least 1 and maybe 2 weekends earlier next year. So we'll see a bit of an earlier end to the Southern Show Choir season, unless someone like a Morton would like to host at the end of the season and draw all those groups that would like to perform a little bit later. Looking back on what you thought was going to happen before the season versus where we stand now, what have been a few of your biggest surprises throughout the course of this Southern Show Choir season?
I love this question so much. So for starters, right, West Jones, they had beaten Brandon last year. So them beating Brandon wasn't as much of a shock, especially considering that them and Brandon split their total competitions this year against each other. But West Jones over Homewood on the second weekend or third weekend of the season, West Jones has really done a number for themselves this year. 3 grand championships on the season that I don't think I expected them to do as well as they did. Not saying I didn't think they do well, but, just knowing the competition they were up against, they really held their own. So that was one surprise I had. My personal favorite is in the treble division, Biloxi girls. They came out of nowhere just swinging, especially whenever they play. I can't remember what competition it was, but them placing over both Northwest Rankin and Brandon's treble groups, and then kind of maintaining that throughout the season. They've done a really good job for themselves, and it's really good to see that group really start to get taken off the ground, or to take off the ground. So that was another surprise I had. And then I'd say just a good rule of 3, right? I'd go with Tarpon Springs. Not only beating past Christianity, getting second in the division behind West Marion at, I can't remember what competition it was, but then to travel up to, was it Fairfield?
It was Fairfield.
And then win that was a pretty big division. That was really impressive for them to go through after all that travel, still perform at that level, win the division, and then just end the season off with a single divisional win over what we correctly mentioned was normally a middle division group in the South in Rosa Scott. So huge turnaround for that program. Great job. I can't remember the director's name. I saw it earlier. He's done
Gabriela Santos.
Great job with the program. So West Jones, large mixed group, Biloxi treble, and Tarpon Springs small mix are my 3 surprises this year. Congratulations to all of them. They've done great.
Well, let's stick with the rule of 3. I just pulled up my list of competitive debuts for this season, and sorting through my list, I see 3 Southern groups: Hamilton, the Legacy from Northwest Alabama, Hattiesburg Expressions from South Central Mississippi, and Lowndes of Viking Cantors from Georgia. Another sign of what I consider to be a strong and healthy show choir scene is new groups wanting to get in on the action. I think I might be missing one. I think there were definitely rumors that East Marion, sister school to West Marion, which we just mentioned earlier, was going to start a competitive show choir. I don't think that ever came to fruition this year. But going off of these 3 debuting groups and any others that I may have missed, what have you heard about them? How have they done? And where do you think they'll go in the future?
I think we thought of the same one that you're missing, Houston Academy. I don't think they actually ever competed this year, but there was talk about them competing at some point from Alabama, Houston Academy Rhapsody, I believe. But back to your original question, I haven't heard anything about Hattiesburg Show Choir. I didn't get to watch them myself and haven't seen any videos. But as you mentioned, any show choir beginning, it's a good sign, right? And as I mentioned, if you're stepping up a division, I give you a grace year. If you're a brand new program, I give you 2 to 3 years to kind of figure yourself out. So I don't really have any standard for Hattiesburg at the moment.
They were going to compete at Northwest before that got canceled.
Right.
And then they were in a very loaded 6-group small mix division at Petal, and they did not place in the top 3. The top 3 at that comp: West Marion, Tarpon, and Pass Christian. So they wound up competing once this year, but still it's the first time that they have fielded a competitive show choir since the 2013 season. So getting back into the game after a long time away.
Viking, or not Viking, sorry, I started with the group name first. Lowndes County out of Georgia, Viking, is it Contour or Cantor?
I think it's Cantors.
Cantor? Okay. I haven't seen any videos. I did get to hear a little bit about this group. I can't remember who from. They told me they were pretty impressive for a first-year group. Normally when you hear a first-year group, you're like, oh no, this might be a hard watch, But I heard that they had a fun show, and it was good to see the kids on stage. They seemed excited. So again, I'll give them 2 to 3 years before I really start to feel them out, but I've already heard good things about Lowndes County. And then the one that I imagine most people have already heard of, if not seen already, one of the bigger stories in the South, Hamilton. Where to begin? I don't know if I've ever seen a first-year group perform as well. Especially they've taken a caption in their first year, an overall caption. That is insane.
Yeah, and in being a national show choir observer like I am, I can think of a fair number of quote-unquote first-year groups that have performed probably as well or as better as Hamilton has, but they're all very familiar names. They're Walkie Northwest, they're Elkhorn North, they're Sioux Falls Jefferson, going back a decade plus, Ankeny Centennial. But these are all groups that split off of existing show choir programs. Like you said, I would be very, very hard-pressed to find a program that more or less appeared out of thin air and immediately jumped into the highest division and was immediately competitive. Like oftentimes it is long, slow journeys. And like next week when we preview John Burroughs, we're going to be talking about one of the best high school football schools in the country starting show choir. But they are in novice mixed. They are not in advanced mixed. So for Hamilton to immediately be like, you know what, we're going to get as many kids as we can together, and we're going to jump straight to large division. And we're going to be beating Prairie, the Ambassadors, right, and we're going to be taking overall captions, and we are going to be one spot behind Grenada at comps. And we are going to go to Oak Mountain and see 7 of the best shows in the South. I all the credit in the world to that program.
Shout out to Christopher Walker.
George Walker.
George Walker. Sorry. George Walker. That's my bad.
Yes. Shout out to
alumni of, is it Glenwood?
Decatur Elite Energy.
Decatur Elite Energy. My bad.
Yes. Bit of a local legend. I may or may not have a pickleball game with him in my future, which I will lose very, very badly. And I have already resigned myself to that fact.
Better warm up.
Yeah, let me do. It's a little dark out right now, but I'll see what I can do tomorrow. Circling back to Lowndes Viking Cantors for a little bit, I actually watched their show on the TIFF live stream, and my jaw hit the floor when, you're just kind of skipping along in the live stream in between groups, trying to figure out like where the next one starts, because I don't want to sit through like 10 minutes until the next performance time comes. And by golly, they rolled out screens out onto the stage. And I'm like, this is a first year group. And we have screens on stage. And they did a twist on like a mental health show. So they did Help by the Beatles. They did Ripple, that one Will Ferrell song from that one movie, Hold On to Me by Lauren Daigle. I'm not good with movies. Everybody I know would tell everybody else that. But, they did some more or less popular show choir songs. And they were, it was a very solidly put together show. I think, it more so fell in the range of fundamentals, but I think as a first year choir, that is absolutely where you're supposed to be. So, hopefully we see a few more next year. I mean, 3 is really like of the more or less mature show choir circuits. I think 3 is the biggest number of debuts I've seen from any state this year. Let me run down my list really quick. I mean, there were a few in Oklahoma, which is still a growing circuit, a few in Arizona, which is still a growing circuit. I think 2 from Kansas, which is again a growing circuit. But in terms of, there's 1 from Indiana, 1 from Ohio. So I mean, 3 is a big number, but we already know of 2 more that discussed having plans that never materialized. Hopefully we at least see them next year, and maybe a wild card or 2 more, who knows. We have just a few minutes left. So I just want to give the floor to you. What are just a couple other storylines from Southern Show Choir? What are things that maybe if I'm not super familiar with Southern Show Choir, what should I know about this season? And, if I had time to watch a few shows on YouTube, what shows would you recommend watching?
I'll start with the 2 people's favorites. Tupelo Synergy. What a story that's been, right? We've been talking the last 3 or 4 years or so about, man, they've gotten as close as first runner-up of these competitions. They took 2 captions off of Brandon in the 2022 season when Brandon was really starting to take off. We've seen them place basically everywhere but Grand Championship. Is this finally going to be the year? Are they finally going to do it? Like I said, we've been saying that for the last 3 or 4 years. And this year, not only did they win Grand Champion, they did it 3 times. The only group they lost to this year were Clinton Attaché and Brandon Brio, which if that's the, I'm about to say, hey, so be it, So that's been a great thing to watch. Everyone I've ever met from that program is nothing but nice. They say nothing but kind things. Everyone, and I don't think I've ever met a single person that doesn't like Tupelo or the people in the program. So it's great to see that happen to a great program. Another thing about Southern Show Choir this year, you just don't know what's going to happen, no matter what the division is. It seems like it's something different every weekend.
First place group in each division, solid number 1. I feel like it's like Clinton, Tupelo, South Jones, Oxford, and then number 2 in each division, whoever's vibing with it that week.
Right.
Like,
right.
Wasn't that the running joke for a few weeks?
It's whoever decided that morning that they were going to win.
Yeah.
It's been one thing after another. I mean, you've had, like I said, West Jones over Homewood and Brandon. Small division, you had Tarpon Springs beating Pastor Christiane. Just a weekend or 2 ago, you had Jackson Academy beating both Northeast Jones and Oak Grove. And that's just a few I can name off the top of my head. If you gave me about 30 minutes, I could pull up a list of like 20 to 30 placements that I couldn't have predicted if I tried. The Ambitions making finals just a week ago. I mean, it's been one crazy thing after another, which is, it's not that it's difficult, but it's a lot for me, the writer, to have to keep track of and make sure I'm getting all the storylines right. So it's been a lot of stuff happening, but it's been exciting to see as well. It helps with spark a lot of conversation and debate around show choir, especially in our region.
Wonderful. Well, Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We are just about at our hour, so No competitions to preview for this upcoming week, as the show choir circuit will observe the Easter holiday. However, Ethan and I will be back on Show Choir Nation next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, live on YouTube. Hopefully posted later to Spotify if our producer has enough time during the week. But we will be announcing the winner of Show Choir Madness. We will also be previewing the FAME National Finals. We will be previewing the John Burroughs Music Showcase, plenty more along the way as well. So for Ethan and Tony, I am William. Have a great show choir off weekend, and we will see you next week.